We're continuing with our video sit-downs. Now we're moving to the 35th District State Senate race, and Tim Sheldon's the incumbent, a Democrat. Tim, let's start out with telling everybody about you.
Okay, well, Dedrick, good morning, and thanks for the opportunity. We have a lot of new voters in our district, the 35th. Maybe I could just start with telling a little bit about myself. I was born here in Sheldon, lived in the district almost all my life, although I lived in Philadelphia for 7 years when I was going to high school and college. My dad was transferred there for business, but our family's been involved in the timber industry for a long time, and we have a tree farm out in Potlatch on Highway 101, so I manage the family business. We sell high-quality saw logs. We sell gravel as well as oysters. So it's an interesting business, and right now it's markets are good, and it's a family enterprise with my sister Tony, who just retired as Superior Court judge, and my brother Tom, who's a retired federal prosecutor.
So let's talk about some of your accomplishments in office. I mean, there's obviously a lot of them, but more recently, what tops your list?
Well, I think if I look back over the time I've been in the legislature, I'm very proud to have worked with both sides of the aisle. I'm not certainly I run as a Democrat, but I'm not a partisan person. I think that no political party has a monopoly on all the good ideas. So just recently we've had formed a coalition the last 5 years and worked very hard across the aisle to write a budget that's sustainable and helps all of Washington. Over the years, the urban areas have gotten a tremendous amount of attention. I was in Seattle yesterday. You cannot believe what's going on if you haven't been there in a while, with all the tower cranes, the new Google office, the high-tech businesses that are there. So I've worked real hard to make sure that the rural economies do well. And one of the great examples, I think, of that is Sierra Pacific, which is doing very well here after they took over from Simpson Timber Company. But several years ago, I obtained $500,000 in our general operating budget to help the city of Sheldon do the permitting and do some other work and the consulting, all the things that you need to do to make that big transfer from a 100-year-old operation to a brand new operation, which is now employing nearly 300 people, I think, after we lost over 500 jobs when the mill closed before, and the plywood mill. So while we haven't brought back all the jobs, we've brought back at least 2/3 of them. It has spawned off other businesses here in town. Our economy is improving. Of course, it's providing B&O tax here in the city of Sheldon, and I'm very proud of the economy that has improved here in Washington, and especially Mason County. I'd add too, some of the infrastructure projects are the big issues for us here. If you look at timber-dependent communities like Mason County and the 35th as a whole, you only see one incorporated city in Sheldon. Well, Sheldon, of course, is that city and the county seat. But if you look at Lewis County, they have 7 incorporated cities. You look at Grays Harbor County, which is also timber-dependent, 7 incorporated cities. So those incorporated cities bring eventually their own sewer system. They've got stormwater, they've got industrial areas. So it's a struggle for us, but I think we've done very well. We're in a building right now that had no sewer just a few years ago. Right. I worked on that project for a regional sewer system. Worked on the project for the city of Sheldon. Right now, streets are being torn up. It's a mess going through, but there's going to be about a little over $5 million in improvements that the legislature has given to the city of Sheldon with no matching funds from the ratepayers. So that's quite an accomplishment, and I want to thank the two fellows I work with, Representative McEwen and Representative Griffey, for working together with the House and the Senate to get these projects through, and that's just a couple examples, I think, of accomplishments here recently.
So Tim, one of the top issues that I hear is about school funding and property taxes and I guess the sticker shock that people have seen. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I'll read just a quick paragraph here. Maybe it would help to summarize it. In 2017, we passed historic bipartisan education reforms. State property taxes increased by 81 cents per $1,000 of assessed value in 2018, this year. But local levies were not capped at $1.50 per 1,000 or $2,500 per student until 2019, next year. So we've created this 1 year of overlapping tax rates, and that's caused the spike here in 2018. But in 2019, the 35th district will see a dramatic drop in property taxes. The city of Seattle will see a dramatic increase in property taxes because of all the value they have with these, I mentioned Google, these other businesses bringing value to their community. And what it does is it makes it fair for every zip code. And this is very important to me, that we have the same kind of funding, same kind of education, same opportunities here in the 35th district as they do in the urban areas. So we will see a dramatic reduction next year. I think that's the way it should be, and the state will assume the responsibility of paying all the teachers. We will not have local levies and that money transferred into the local school districts and the school district having to add money for teacher recruitment and that kind of thing. So when you look at teachers' salaries, right now, when I started, the teacher's salary, starting teacher's salary was in the low 20,000s. Now our starting teachers make over $40,000 right out of school. I think that's a huge improvement. When you look at what they're making when the McCleary decision was handed down by the state Supreme Court, teachers' average pay was $64,600. Today, the average teacher's salary is $81,000. Now that's the average. We're a little bit lower in the 35th district because of our rural nature. But we've made some adjustments for cost of living as well. And we had a little difficulty in North Mason, but we came back with a bill this last year that helped the North Mason area because they're so close to Kitsap, and these circles of regionalization affected them and a couple other communities quite dramatically. So I think we've made some great strides in education. You know, we've increased funding for education by 99% since the decision. I mean, a huge number, I think about $13.3 billion that we put into education.
So staying with the school theme here, let's talk about school safety.
Yes.
All the shootings and what have you, and I'm not going to put you on the spot and say, are you in favor of arming teachers? I just want to get your thoughts on school safety and what can be done.
Sure. Well, I'd say right out, Dedrick, I am not in favor of arming teachers. I don't think teachers, that's their role. But I do think that we have to increase security in schools. And I think if you look historically at this, most of these shootings are taking place at campus-like schools in suburban or rural areas. You don't see them happening, hopefully, in urban settings. Because in urban settings, I think that the schools have figured out a long time ago that they need to have security. So that's helped a lot. Many urban schools are on one city block with 4 entrances on 4 streets. It's much easier to provide security for them, for the students, and the entry. So I think the other issue is absolutely mental health. The Parkland, Florida shooting, the youngster that was involved there should have been identified by a variety of people that he was in contact with. We have to do a better job of recognizing these young people, that males predominantly, that have these social problems and are not being treated. That is the challenge, I think, to us right now. The security issue and also the mental health issue.
Let's talk about homelessness.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned mental health issues and homeless, and they're not exclusive and they're not inclusive. But what can we do about the homeless? Well,
I think we have to look at things in a regional way. I don't think any one city or any one county can bear the burden of what we have going on in our communities. The homelessness issue, I think, is a couple things. It's opioid crisis, it's drugs. I think it is the economic situation of the haves and the have-nots, the hopelessness that some people have. I think that's obviously the mental health issue again, but a regional approach I think works quite well. I've been in a couple cities. I mentioned Seattle just yesterday. I've also been in Boise, Idaho a couple weeks ago downtown for 4 days, and they have done an excellent job of working with the people that are coming through their community, getting them some assistance. And you don't see people sleeping on the streets. They have a lot of outdoor cafes, other things. I didn't see anybody pushing a grocery cart with obvious mental health problems. So it is a growing problem for all the communities, but I think one of the things we've done last year is I sponsored a budget appropriation in the capital budget, was supported in the House. We have now $3 million to provide a tiny homes project here in Sheldon, within the city limits, for homeless veterans. And it also provided $3 million for the same type of project in Pierce County at the Retzel Veterans Home. So this project is an example of how a community can transform itself. And when you see these, the project they have in Tumwater with Quixote Village, which I visited, it is really uplifting to see how people work together. It will be a place where veterans can live. They'll have to be drug-free or they'll have to be in treatment if they have a drug problem. They will pay a portion of their stipend from the government for rent. It is a concept that I think you'll see duplicated other places as we get this developed.
Tim, a lot of issues, and it hasn't been the last session, but the special sessions.
Yes.
And going into extra time. What can we do to stop this?
Well, I've been, as I said, I've been there a long time in Olympia, and I've been through many, many special sessions. And the special sessions really are a result of politics, of people not wanting to work together and work for a deadline. We did not have this kind of thing when I first started. Well, when I first started, we had some special sessions, but we didn't seem to go down to the wire with this kind of DC politics where who blinks first and who gets a win kind of thing. People are not interested in that. And because I work across the aisle, they're very frustrating to me as well. And I've been the president of the Senate for 3 years, not last year, but for 3 years, where I preside when the lieutenant governor's not there. So I'm down there a lot for these special sessions when it's just kind of a pro forma thing. You hit the gavel, come into session, and then leave, because only a couple people are there working on the budget and working on some of the bigger issues that need to be resolved. I think a governor plays a big part in this because the governor calls a special session. The legislature can, but that takes a supermajority in both houses. But when the governor calls a special session, I think the governor should be there every day and call people into his office. Governor Gregoire was very good at this. She would call a leader from all 4 caucuses into her office to negotiate while she was sitting there. One day she said, we'll take you for example, Dedrick, you're not coming in today. Yesterday you did not work for any solution. You're just not coming in the office.
Okay.
Okay? So this is the kind of leadership we need to bring things to conclusion at the end. And I think we've gotten to the point where we're very partisan. We're going to have, again, whoever wins these elections, we will come back with a very closely divided House of Representatives and very closely divided Senate. So I've made it a point to be friendly with everyone, to attend functions that the other party has, to work across the aisle. And I think I'm probably the most bipartisan legislator that's been in Olympia in a long, long time.
Tim, the last thing I'd like you to tell us, why should we return you to Olympia? Quick statement.
Well, because I've done a good job for this district. My opponent will say, well, look at this, we're down the list in jobs or whatever. the things are, my cup is more than half full. I think I look back on the improvements that we've made here in the 35th District, some of the great quality of life issues that we have. I think we have just a wonderful community that's going to continue to grow, and I see great things on the horizon for the 35th.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Dedrick.
Thanks for taking the time.
You bet.